Have you been traveling far to get here today? This is Clark coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Still in America, what's left of it. So, I hope you haven't come too far today, but anyways, if you have, welcome to Sin City. And we have still a lot of sin going on around here, as does every place else apparently in the country. We have a country full of liars, that's for sure. Look at the sin and the lies that are coming out all over the place. Boy, oh boy, the distortions coming from the mainstream media, from the political parties, these despicable, corrupt organizations that we need to get rid of. People listening to this show, you should join the herd. Send in $1 to the herd, 717 South 9th Street, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89101. Made out to the herd, $1, and we will put that in our bank, and we're going to amass these dollars, and they're going to end up being symbolic and represent how many people we have in the herd as members. And those members are going to have to be heard, and the people that we elect in this country to be hold positions of power are going to have to listen to the herd. And everybody else in this country, we the people, remember us? This country was founded for us, and we need to be heard. And that's the whole basis for my show and for what I think the people have to do, is be heard. Now, several years ago, I'm sure you remember, a Tea Party came into prominence, and nobody really knew where the Tea Party specifically came from. There's people now that kind of take credit for the foundation of the founding of the Tea Party. Whether that's true or not, who knows, who cares? But the point is that this movement had some resonance to it, because it was kind of like the awakening up of the silent majority, for example. And this country needs to be woken up, because nothing's going to change until we, the people, change it. The corrupted leadership that's come into power in this country, that we are now about 200 and something years old, 230 more, 250, somewhere around that. We are now in complete demise, if you will. Most countries that have preceded us, they last a couple hundred years and they fail. They crumble under their own weight, or they go through massive changes. The French had their French Revolution, for example. America was founded on the principle of people fleeing tyranny from Europe, and the kings, and the confiscatory way that they did things by taking people's money, having subjects work for you. They were sick and tired of that type of a deal, so they came over here and founded America. At first, they founded it under the utopian principles that they were going to be like a commune, excuse me, and everybody was going to work together, and wasn't it just going to be wonderful? What a great utopian idea. Everybody just works together, and we make success, and wouldn't that be lovely? You know, what a great place we're going to have. And what problem with that developed was that half the people wouldn't work because they were getting what they wanted by not working. That's the problem with communism and socialism, is half the people work and half the people don't work. And this is what we can see now with our genius system that we ended up with, that our forefathers warned us of, was political parties are corrupt, and they're a despicable cancer on any society, and they should not be allowed to happen. Well, they didn't specifically put anything in the Constitution about parties, because they probably thought that that in and of itself would be enough to not allow them. But the problem was that anything not enumerated in the Constitution was left up to the individual states, and the individual states could make their own laws. And what they did, these individual states passed a thing to where they would have political parties. And that's what founded these political parties. And how that turns over into having any influence on a federal election, I don't know. But apparently, you know, corruption corrupts absolutely. and everything gets distorted. And the only way we're going to get this country back and on the right rail to success again is by we the people having a voice and being heard. So please help us out here and give us a call, 702-493-5222. Let us know what to do about this, what your solutions are. My number one solution around here is that we have to make the political parties illegal organizations, and we make them against the law in this country. We get the Supreme Court, whatever is left of them, to rule that political parties are an illegal organization that infringes upon the very rights of we the people. And they do that by taking away our elected officials, by bribing them with special interest money and getting the reason that we elected them ripped away from us and where they work for them now. And that's illegal. And we have to get that hit home to the Supreme Court, that the Supreme Court works for us, we the people. The country was founded for us. We are the people, and we say what the United States Supreme Court needs to be. And they better listen, because we will be heard. Because this is the only chance that any country has for success, is they listen to their people. Otherwise, you have various forms of government around the world that are all failures. They may last year after year because they have dictators that are in power that control the military, and you can't take over the dictator without taking over the military. And the dictator usually has them under an iron fist, and that's the way they secure their power. When they lose the grip on the military, that's when they lose their power. It happened to Mubarak in Egypt, and it happened to Gaddafi in Libya. And when they lose their might, they lose their power. And this country, I often get in these heated debates with people, and the bottom line is, at the end of the conversations, well, what's going to happen when we fall off the cliff and the people unite and have a revolution, if you will, to get the country back? Is the military going to turn on the people of this country? In other words, would a military person actually fire his weapon on a U.S. citizen, an unarmed U.S. citizen that was merely participating in a revolution, if you will, to get their country back? Would a fellow citizen, even though they're in the military, fire on a U.S. citizen? That's the question. Because whether it happens next week, next month, 10 years, 20 years, 100 years from now, if we keep going in the direction that we're going, that all countries go into, by the way, this is a natural progression of the way power corrupts. It's going to happen. The people in power are going to try to just erode our rights and take more and more of them away, like Hillary Clinton wants to take away our Second Amendment rights to have firearms. This is part of the government theory that we got to unarm the people and then we can get away with more crap. Well, now that's not working too well because of the Second Amendment. So now what they're doing is they're buying up all the bullets. So if you can have a gun, but if you don't have any bullets to go in the gun, what good is it? It just becomes a big rock to throw at people, I guess. But this is the way that our despicable, distorted government runs, and it's pathetic. And we have to make damn sure that we don't allow this to happen. Rolando's out somewhere.
Is he?
Yeah, he's walking around.
Okay, I'll go for him.
Okay. At any rate, we have to be sure that we get this country back and we keep this country back. So an organization, a movement, similar to the herd, similar to the Tea Party, we need to unite and we need to be the people that this country's for. Don't associate our name like the herd with a party. We're not a party. We are the people. We are this country. We're not a party. Parties, we're going to make them illegal, okay? The parties think they control this country. Look at the way the Republican Party's acting right now. They're entrenched establishment leaders that think that they are the elite of this country and they control who the person will be that runs for the nomination of the presidency of the United States by who they say. These cigar-smoking men in the back room, remember those types of people? That's what the Republican Party thinks they are. They think they have all the control. And same thing with the Democratic Party. And then look at how the Democrats handle their nominating process with all these super delegates, which are all fixed people that are appointed by the elite establishment of the Democratic Party. And these are maybe ex-governors, ex-leaders in the Democratic Party get rewarded for being one of their marching soldiers, and they're going to jump however high the Democratic Committee tells them to jump. They're going to do their bidding. Well, this is what we have to stop, folks. This is corruption. Any individual is subject to envelopes stuffed with cash, and we don't want our country run by a bunch of people that are getting envelopes that control the way they vote, the way they think, and what have you. This is not good for the American people. We need to stop this. We need to make sure that we have leaders that are backing the Constitution, understand the Constitution, and support it. Leaders that get in a position of power, they don't like the Constitution because it limits their power. Well, too bad, that's the way it is. So we the people need to be heard, and we need to say what their powers will be, and we need to say how long they will have that power. So we need term limits on a federal basis, state basis, a local basis. Everybody needs to be term limited. The founding fathers' vision of the government they were creating was that somebody would, on a temporary basis, get elected to an office that they could hold for a period of time. It wasn't forever, it wasn't a career, just the opposite. The vision they had was anti-career, that you would serve for, say, a couple of years as a congressman does, maybe 2 terms, maybe the most 4 years. Senator would serve 6 years, and whether you give him a second term or not is debatable, because that would be 12 years. That's subject to abuse. The 6 years is questionable to start with. So I don't know, but we need fresh blood all the time turning over in these positions of supposed power. Because when you get in there for too long and you have too many connections and too many strings of people that you can pull, and that they can pull you, and you're beholden to too many people that have given you envelopes stuffed with cash over the years, this gets to be corruption. And we have to snuff out corruption. It's a bad, bad cancer on our country. And we need to be sure that we do away with it. That's extremely important. So first step, in my opinion, is we got to elect Donald Trump, because he's the first guy in my lifetime to come along that's not subject to these special interest envelopes and influence by these people that are trying to control you to get done what they want done. And that just disrupts the whole concept of America. And we have to stop it. And we have to be sure we stop it and be sure we snuff it out forever. That's not the way to run a country. So, at any rate, give us a call if you'd like, 702-493-5222. Tell us if we're on the right track. I think we are. I don't see how we could be on the wrong track. All we're asking for here at the Herd is that we be heard, that we get a group of people that support us by symbolically giving us $1 so we can keep track of how many people we have. We're not going to spend any of these dollars. We're just going to pile them up in a bank so that anybody who wants to know how many members we have, all they have to do is look at our bank account. That's how many members we have. Each dollar will reflect 1 member. And you can see in volume of what we amount to and how much of a herd we're going to be. And we could become H-E-A-R-D, being we're heard by our ears, but we could become a herd, H-E-R-D. Having a massive amount of people behind us, we will be heard. That's what's guaranteed. So anyways, we need to be a power. The only power that should exist in the United States is the power of the people. And that's what we need to do. And when you elect a president, you have to remember, we're not electing some permanent elitist here in this country. We're electing a servant of the people. The president is just a service. He's given a position of power on a temporary basis, and we're limiting his powers by the Constitution, and we're limiting the time in office to where he can exercise his power that we gave him. And believe me, if he doesn't follow the mandate of the Constitution and the principles that this country is set up that the president has to abide by, then we need to remove him from office. And we need to have it done by the people. And this crap where if the particular president's party is in control of the Congress or the Senate, that's going to protect this president from being removed from office, because nobody in his party will remove him from office no matter what he did. Look at what Clinton did, lying to the American people, committing perjury, and this is the highest office holder in the land. That is pathetic. That's why the important thing is to get rid of the parties. The parties are corruption to the max. This country of ours will never work when you have divisiveness that is created by having two parties. I look at the two parties, instead of Democrat and Republican, conservative and liberal, they're for and against, okay? One party can be for something, the other party is gonna automatically be against it, because that's the system, the way they've set it up here, and it won't work. That's a big, huge, false system. Will never work like that. You tell me any company in the country that operates where within their company they have these fractions, and they have two. They have a for and they have an against. If anybody on the for side of the company proposes something that may be productive to do and be more competitive, and help the company become a success, somebody on the against side of the fraction of the company will oppose it. So you have your for and your against. On every single proposal that comes up, half the company will be for it, half the company will be against it, because that's the way it's set up. Like our country, we're set for failure. That will never, ever, ever work. It will never, ever work. So no company would ever work under that basis, where half the company's for something, the other half's against it. How's it gonna work? It's gonna fail. That company's gonna go bankrupt, and they're gonna be failures. And so we have to get smart. We have to use common sense. We have to get a system here in this country that makes sense, that'll work. We don't need parties. We need people to lead us that we can elect to a position temporarily. As long as they're doing a good job, we can keep them. Or we vote with our ballots. And if we don't like the job they're doing, or if their time's up, they're out. And it's time for some new blood to come in there and do the job. And what difference does it make how long they're in office? It makes no difference. As long as we have somebody there to supposedly do a job, that's all we need. And if we have to wait a year or so to get someone else in a position who'll do a better job, well, so be it. In the meantime, so what? What is so friggin' important? We have a country now that's over 200 years old. We have laws on the books, and we have ways to enforce those laws that are on the books, supposedly. I say supposedly, because these laws are not being enforced, because a lot of the laws are being broken by people that have the power. So they won't enforce the laws against themselves. So we, as the people, need to make damn sure our laws are enforced. And if we have people in power that aren't enforcing the laws, we need to get rid of them. That's all there is to it. We need to get rid of them. And this is extremely important, and it's common sense 101. Why can't we run our country like this? We can. It's very easy. We need to be damn sure that our laws are enforced. And if we have people that aren't doing their job and enforcing the laws, we need to get rid of them. And we shouldn't have to take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years or whatever it is to get rid of the people. We change the locks on their doors and that's it. They can't get in their offices anymore. We take away the power just as easy as we gave it to them. So we have to do some fundamental changes, because the basic way that this country's been run now for decades is that you have a divisiveness built in. You have two parties, and that will never, ever, ever work. Some people say, oh, well, other countries, they have 4, 5, 6, 20, 30. I think Canada might have 50 parties, I hear. And some of them come and go, and whatever, they're all over the place. Well, my answer to that is, why have any parties at all? Just don't have any parties. There you go. Now Mr. Smith runs against Mr. Jones, and may the best man with the best ideas wins. That's what it comes down to. You voted Mr. Jones. Well, if Mr. Jones lied to us, and he ends up not doing what he said he was going to do, then we vote him out of office. Or we change the lock on his door. Put someone else in there. In the meantime, if we just remove somebody so they can't do anything, we've checkmated him for the rest of his term until we can vote someone else in. So what? We got somebody in government not doing their job. That's most of our government people don't do their job. So what's the difference? We don't need this government. All the Democrats love to blame the Republicans for threatening to shut down the government. Well, well, so what? Why do we need the government? They're not like your heart or your brain that keeps you going. They're a bureaucracy that by its own nature doesn't work effectively. It's not productive. It never creates anything. All it does is rob from the productive people to give Santa Claus gifts away to the people that are going to keep people in power. That's all it is. And we need to do away with that. We need to have common sense 101. We need to think about the fundamental basic principles of what a country can survive on and work and be productive and be the greatest country in the world. And if we can be fortunate enough to have a Donald Trump at the top of the pyramid here, to where we can have a leadership, real leadership by a person who's done something. What did Obama ever do? Nobody, I don't think there's many people with a straight face anyway, can say how electable Obama was when he ran for office back in '08. He had absolutely zero experience. He'd never done anything in his life. He never signed a paycheck on the front. What the hell was he? He wasn't anything. He was a rebel rouser, a community organizer. That's nothing to be electable with. Same thing with a Hillary Clinton. She was a lawyer. That should be enough to wipe her off the ballot right away. She was involved in some very shady deals at the Rose Law Firm. She got $100,000 something or other, something over a chicken deal or something. I mean, Whitewater. There's all kinds of things in their background that is corruption and that are suspicious and for the most part illegal. And these are the Clintons. This is the way they ran. This is what they're about. They had a trail of dead bodies that seems to follow them around and increase in number. This is very despicable stuff that we need to pay close attention to. Hopefully, when Trump is running for the general election, he's not going to be limited by what he can say by some party that's controlling him. Without that, we're going to get the truth. When you have a party controlling you, you only get to hear what that party wants their candidates to say. So the candidates are not being truthful. They're just espousing what they've been told to say. They're puppets. Well, Trump won't be a puppet. And that's why the puppeteers, the Republican establishment, is going so crazy over the potential of a Trump nominee to run for president, because they can't control him, and they're going absolutely crazy. Insane. What does that tell you? Someone with common sense would look at that and say, oh boy, this is great, because everybody's exposing themselves. Trump is exposing himself as being truthful and telling what the people have been waiting to hear for so long, the truth, that he's going to have resonance. He's going to get a lot of traction. You have people that are part of the establishment now, like a Paul Ryan, who refuses to back Trump at the moment. Well, that's despicable, and that's going to come back to haunt him, because here's Trump out there For years and years, the Republican Party has been saying they have to have a big tent, they have to attract more new members, they have to increase the size of their base, and this and that. Well, Trump's doing exactly that. Participation in the Republican side of the equation in this nomination process has jumped 60%. Well, that's a pretty damn good job. The Republicans have been talking about doing that for ages, but the problem was they never did it. Now Trump's doing it single-handedly, and he's exposing the Republican establishment for what they are, this despicable, illegal organization, a corrupt organization, and Trump single-handedly is pointing that out and exposing them for what they are, and he's winning. That's the killer part. That's what's causing people like Paul Ryan to just be fighting and fighting and fighting and not willing to admit to the obvious that they've been beaten. And sorry, you're going to have to get used to it. So you're either going to be around as a, I don't know how you can be viable, but maybe we don't even need you around. So I tell you what, Donald, just wipe out the Republican Party, what's left of it. You don't need them. You're Donald Trump. You're running for president under the name Donald Trump. Everybody knows the name. The political party can't do a damn thing against you, to tell you the truth, because you have the attention of the people, and that's what you need. We the people. We are the government. We the people, not we the Republican establishment. That's not written anywhere in the Constitution. And look at the people that the Democrats put up. It's pathetic. They put up Hillary Clinton because they felt obligated for whatever reason. I don't understand that one. But because Bill Clinton wasn't anything to write home about. He was one of the most despicable presidents we've ever had, lying right to the American people. He was impeached. How many have had that happen? Not many. But he was impeached, but at the time where the Congress impeached him, the Senate wouldn't convict him because they were controlled by the Democrats. And Clinton was a Democrat, so you're just not going to get it, get that done. And that's part of the biggest problem with these parties, is you don't have control. It's out of control. So we the people have to get back to where we are what matters, and what we say is what matters, and then we'll have a country back again. And when we first started out, we did great. I mean, we became the leader of the free world. We became the most productive, highest quality of living in the world. We became the protectorate of the world. If there was a war, we went in and we won the wars, and we wiped out people like Hitler, people like the Japanese that thought they were going to, take over in the Second World War. We shut them up in about 2 days with 2 bombs. They were done. Well, the rest of the world has to know, thank God the American people are not, the government itself is not out to grab other lands and do like Hitler did and try to take over the world. We're not for that. We'll just be very happy where we are. We have one of the greatest countries in the world because we have great natural resources and assets that we can rely upon. So quite frankly, we're fine. We're just great. Just leave us alone and don't bother us, and we won't have to bother you. But as America, as this powerhouse, if somebody bothers you, like what Saddam Hussein did to Kuwait, he tried to literally take over Kuwait. Maybe he was after their oil, whatever it was, he was taking over a neighbor. And what happened? The United States, under the original first George Bush, went in there and said, no, we're not going to allow this. And, in pretty short order, the Kuwaitis had their country back. What a great country the United States is to have done that. What did Kuwait do to pay us for that? Nothing. Because like Donald Trump says, we're run by stupid people. We didn't ask for anything, I guess. We should have got something, but we didn't. And then you have today, like I heard, that Jeb Bush has refused to support the nomination of Donald Trump. That is absolutely pathetic, 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 pathetic. That shows his true colors. I would never support Jeb Bush now for anything because he's a two-faced bastard. And I used to like George Bush, his brother. I thought he did a good job when a lot of people were against him. The media's always been against him because he's not a Democrat. He's a Republican, so they can't support him. And but I thought that he showed the world when we had a problem with the towers being run into by these airplanes and Osama bin Laden. He showed the world when we went in there and we had Osama living in caves in pretty short order. I think within 3 weeks he was hiding out. We decimated them, and we did it very quickly. And that's the way wars are supposed to be fought and won. And we needed to show the world that we weren't going to allow this type of thing to go on any longer. So George Bush had to pick upon somebody to make another point, because we made, bin Laden wasn't much of a point, really. He went out so quick. So he picked on Saddam Hussein, saying, well, we'll make a point of Iraq over here. And we ended up hanging Hussein by the end of a rope, and that sent a message to the rest of the world that maybe we better think twice about going after the United States. And that's the message we needed to send. That's what Bush sent it. Of course, it was distorted by everybody on the other side. All the mainstream media and all the news organizations distorted everything and screwed it all into something it was not. And I understood what it was right off the bat. I said, that's the way to go. We're showing the world to screw with us and you're going to get hurt. And that's the way Donald Trump is going to run this country. Someone screws with us, they're going to get hurt. Now take ISIS. Okay, we got 30,000 of these cockroaches cutting off people's heads, and he says that he's going to get rid of the ISIS in short order. It's not going to take a long time. It's going to be quick, and I believe it because it can be done. These are 30,000 cockroaches. That's all they are. We'll eliminate them if we eliminate a few collateral damage in the process. Well, too bad. We'll give them warning to get the hell out of the way because we're coming in, and anybody left in this particular area over here is going to be eliminated. So you can stay if you want and be eliminated, or you can get the hell out. Well, don't give them a year's notice, give them a day's notice, and go in there and wipe them out. And that's the way you run when you have a cockroach. And then that'll send a message to the rest of the cockroaches out there to shape up or ship out. When we bombed Gaddafi's tent way back when, after that Lockerbie incident with the 747, Reagan went in there and bombed his tent. Well, he wasn't in his tent, but his sister was, and his sister got wiped out. But you didn't hear much from Gaddafi after that till he got killed. But at any rate, he was pretty friggin' quiet. He gave up willingly his nuclear armaments. He started flying a lot straighter than he had flown, and it's because of the power that the United States possesses. We have to use our power for good, and that's what we do. And the rest of the world can thank God we're there. If they don't see it that way, too bad. You know, you're not any member of the society we want around, so you're going to have a hard time. Because we're doing things that are right. Now, you may not think we're right, or you're distorted by your religious fanaticism or whatever it is. You don't think right. So, in this particular case, we, the American people, rule. We're the strongest in the world. And if you don't think so and you don't like it, too friggin' bad. That's the way we're going to be, and we need somebody like a Donald Trump that understands that. He's going to build our military to a certain strength to where anybody would be foolish to do anything against us. So you're not building the military to use it, you're building a military to be the strongest in the world in hopes that you never have to use it. We're not building this military up to take over the world like this nut job in North Korea is trying to flex his muscles and, you know, sending off missiles and submarines and this and that and playing his little war games. The guy's an idiot. He looks like an idiot, and you know, next time we need to pick on somebody in the world to make a lesson of, I suggest his name be at the top of the list. But, you know, this guy's a fool. But the Chinese, I think, will handle that nutcase when Donald Trump's in office and can have some influence on the Chinese. And we have huge, tremendous power over the Chinese economy. We literally can stop the imbalance in the trade, and that would create not only a recession, but a depression in China. That would be a burden that they could not survive. We would just squeeze them to death. And that's too bad. That's the way it is. That's not the way we want the world to be, but that's the way occasionally it has to become so that we can keep a world on a straight course. So Trump understands this. He's a businessman. He knows the way things get done. And this is what we need, because for the last 7.5 years, we've had somebody in office that doesn't know how to do anything, really. He does know, because he's been consistently wrong. You can flip a coin, and the odds are half the time you're going to call it right, just because that's the odds. Obama has never done anything right yet. So he's very consistent. Now, you can't be that consistent unless you know what you're doing. He is working for somebody like a Soros or somebody of that stature, or an organization of people of that dimension that want to actually destroy the United States. And that's the way Obama's been running his administration. Every single thing he's done has been 180 degrees in the wrong direction. And that's the way he flies. And he needs to go. Thank God that we eliminated a lot of his power when we took back Congress 2 years after he was elected, and then we took back the Senate, and he's been pretty much stymied except for his pen and his phone, as he likes to say. But he's been halted with the elimination of Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi, his two co-conspirators in the destruction of the United States. Because, face it, Harry Reid is a destructionist himself. He's pathetic. When you call your own constituents like Clive Bundy a domestic terrorist, you know, you don't need to be in the floor of Congress. You need to be sitting in your backyard with your chrysanthemums where you need to be planted. And your days are numbered, Mr. Reid. And then you have a Nancy Pelosi who's virtually just dumb. You know, anyone that professes the fact that unemployment's good because for every dollar we spend, we get $1.79 back, or we have to pass the bill to find out what's in it, or any of the famous stuff that she's put forth. I mean, she's a moron. And these are the type of leaders you get on the liberal side of the aisle. And why the people over there don't see this, I think some of them are waking up. Some are professing that they're not going to back any more Democratic candidates or liberal policies. So there are some of them that are waking up, because eventually a person with any intelligence left at all is going to have to see the results of these liberal progressive policies. They simply don't work. Look at Detroit, look at Baltimore, look at California. Look at these places where these policies have been tried and they've failed miserably. It's because of the policies. This type of socialism, if you will, where you're going to tax and tax and tax people into oblivion. All your businesses are going to flee. New York has taxed everybody to death. There's no real conservatism left in New York to speak of. There's no entrepreneurs. They're on the TV now advertising to come tax-free to the country of New York. But the problem with that is they've been devastated. Donald Trump's been talking about a little tour he had in the northern part of New York where the businesses have all left, and they're trying to get new ones in, but there's nothing that they can give them because it's been so decimated by liberal policies. These only work so long and they're going to fail. They always fail. This is not rocket science. But when you have two parties, you see, you're going to have a for and you're going to have against. Well, the Conservative Party has been for the person to take care of themselves. The Liberal Party has been for the government to take care of you, the people. So it's Santa Claus. So that problem with that is you end up with like the Pilgrims, where half of the people wouldn't work, and the productive people got tired of working for the unproductive, so that system was collapsing. So that's what happens to the liberal policies. They don't work, they collapse, because the whole theory, the basic foundation of their way that they run things doesn't work. And it'll never work. I don't care how long you try it, how many centuries and centuries, you'll never get to the centuries, because the policies will fail way before you ever get there. And why? Because Thatcher once said, Margaret Thatcher, communism sounds great, socialism and all that works, until you run out of other people's money. Well, that's the problem, is we have to be a productive country. We have to make sure that we don't run out of money. And we need to be a country of producers to make sure that we always are producing something of value. And for years and years, we were, up through the 50s and 60s, we created a lot of advancements in all kinds of productivity. But we haven't done so much lately. We've kind of hit a grinding halt on the way that America used to be the leader of the world in producing things, because most of our jobs have been stolen by countries with cheaper labor, and with business and tax policies of the United States has driven a lot of companies out. Ireland, I guess, is doing pretty good because a lot of businesses are locating there because of their tax structure. It doesn't take a genius to figure out, you know, when your taxes are out of whack, people aren't going to stick around. Look at New York. How many people have fled New York because of high taxes? There's other places to go, so you vote with your feet. You just move, that's all. Wealthy people that have wherewithal and they produce things, they're productive people, they can pretty much go anywhere as they want because they can figure out how to make it. It's the ones that have to depend upon government, they can't move anywhere because they're dependent upon government. So these are the people that have to stick around in places like New York, and then eventually they're the problem that causes the whole system to fail, because there's nobody left with any money to support them anymore. So this is not rocket science, it really isn't. There's been talk like over in Europe, they have a very socialistic way of doing things over there, where the work week is, you know, could be as little as 10 hours, I guess would be fine for some of the people over there. And they had a tax structure where they tried to increase like 70%, I heard, in France, and some of their movie stars that made a lot of money decided to move to Belgium or whatever, and it was because of the tax structure. I think years ago, if I'm not mistaken, England raised their tax situation to such a level that the government collapsed to a great extent. All the wealthy business owners that were productive stopped producing. They sold their businesses, they bought Rolls Royces, and they drove around the countryside and enjoyed the view. Well, Jesus Christ, under an 80% tax policy, the government was collapsing. There wasn't anybody working anymore, making any money or paying that 80%. So they were going in the wrong direction, and that was pretty evident. So they lowered the taxes, I think slashing it like 20% or less, and that created the productive people to sell their Rolls Royces, and they'd go back and hire people and go back into business and start making money again. Very simple, very easy. It's 101 to me. I've understood it my whole life, what makes the world go round. I know Donald Trump understands it, so we need a leader like that. We don't need these liberals to be in power in this country. We need to stamp them out, and we need to get rid of the parties that support things like that. We need to get rid of them because they're not productive for this country. We need to get back to the basic things that work. And we've been around long enough in this world to know what works and what doesn't work. We have a history. And we need to make sure that our basic fundamental principles are what makes this country go round, and we'll be a success. We'll get there. Again, we already were there, but we've allowed the progressives to dumb down our students and our young people, and now I think you see the results of that, where You can ask a young person on the street something, Jesus Christ, they don't even know what you're talking about. It's pretty pathetic. Jesse Waters did a deal in the street the other night on the show with some very young children. I'm talking 8, 9, 10 in that neighborhood. And it was surprising to me how these group of questionnaires, they reflected the older people, I think, because I think they were actually parroting what their parents were doing. And some of the kids, very few, but some, I think, thought for themselves, and that was refreshing because some of them were right on. They had the right policies, the right ideas. Other ones were supporting like communism and socialism. And they asked him, he asked them, "What do you know what socialism is?" "Oh, no, not really." So I mean, they're supporting things they don't even know what they're supporting. These are dumbasses, okay? This is what they are, and they can't answer a question, but they're supporting something they know nothing about. And this is what you have to be wary of. Is this country is going to have a hard time becoming great again. If you're only dealing with half an engine, you're not going to get over that mountain. And you know, we need to do things smart. Donald Trump's right. This country's been run by a bunch of morons, and we have to get our country back. And it's going to be a combination of education and results. We can't let the mainstream media distort the results and paint a fuzzy picture. They always are supporting any liberal that gets in the presidency. They support their administration. So there's no bad press for like 8 years if they should be in office that long. But at the end of 8 years, what the people see, they see devastation. They see policies that didn't work. They get to see with their own eyes. The media is not reporting it, but the people can see it. So usually after 8 years of that type of knowledge coming forth by seeing, they vote in the other party. And then what happens is the mainstream media starts distorting what's actually happened, misreporting everything, and giving bad news, bad news, bad news. It's actually good news, but they get so inundated with this bad stuff being reported to them that half the people end up believing it, and then half the people end up voting in the other party that caused all the devastation to start with that we were in the process of straightening out. So it's a vicious cycle, and it's done by distortion, and it's almost like smoke and mirrors. It's magic. It's caused by lack of education. If everybody had Common Sense 101 taught to them, they wouldn't be fooled by these lies and distortions that come from the liberal progressives. These are all lies. They never work anywhere. So ask one of these liberals, where has your policies ever worked? And they can't give you an answer. Ask one, what has Hillary Clinton ever done? They can't give you an answer. It's just absolutely makes me quandar in a way. Thank God I've lived most of my life already before the country has gotten to this point, because boy, I wouldn't want to be someone just coming out of high school or something like that trying to figure out what to do with my life, because boy, I don't know how these people, they're not going to have a very good life. Here we are, the first time, I think, since we were founded 200 something years ago, that we're going to leave off our next generation worse than our generation. And that is a despicable record to be putting forth to our children. It's just pathetic. And we have fallen on our face as the people of this country because we've allowed this to happen. And we need to straighten it out. We, the people, can straighten this out. It's going to take a lot of work because a lot of this has gone on too long. But we need to clean house is the only way that we'll be able to straighten it out. We need to start with any way we can start. Thank God that Donald Trump has come along right now in our lifetime, that we have an opportunity to quickly get a lot of this stuff straightened out. He's going to face an uphill battle because he's only one person, but he's the right person. And I think that he's getting a lot of traction because everybody that's against him is against him for a very fundamental reason. and that is that Donald Trump single-handedly jeopardizes their power. And that's hard to hide, if that's your motive. Look at Paul Ryan, look at Jeb Bush, look at the things. When you have somebody now tell you that they're not going to support Donald Trump for president, they're scared of something. And it's not because they fear for the United States and under this despicable Trump, what can happen to us. Let me tell you something, after 7.5 years of this schmuck Obama, there's nobody left on this planet that could hurt us any more than that, other than Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is of the same cut of cloth as Obama, and that would be more of the same. And if we don't know now by looking at what's in front of our faces that this country's not working under Obama/Clinton leadership, then you're blind and you deserve what you get, I guess. But like I said, thank God I'm not just coming out to go into my career, part of my life, because I don't know what I would do. I'm at a loss. I can't even tell the young people what they should do because I don't know. And they certainly don't know. And it's just a terrible, terrible situation that we've allowed us to fall into. And part of it is this guy that was elected twice named Obama. I cannot believe that guy got elected once, let alone twice. It's just unbelievable. It's unfathomable to me. And we got to get this straightened out. We got to elect the right guy. And within next few years, I think we'll be able to see some vast improvement. I know we can. And it's going to be great. I look forward to it. I look forward to the media, and I look forward to the entrenched Republican establishment going absolutely bonkers when you got guys like Jeb Bush saying he's not going to support Donald Trump. What a despicable, entrenched, bought and paid for bunch of bozos that is. I swear to God, I've never seen anything like it.